What's up, guys? Welcome to not a wildlife episode. Although my new lens, I kind of want to do wildlife every chance I get, and I don't leave home without it anymore because it's the only one I have right now. So we had this idea, camera lady and I think she mentioned it first. What was it? You saw like an Instagram post or something. She saw something that was like advice for photography, and I've seen it too. I've seen it a lot. Like we've all seen it. And one of the tips is like people say is like, be creative. And it's like, we were just thinking about it, and camera lady just looked at me and she's like, that's kind of like terrible advice. And it's not that it's terrible. It's actually good advice, of course, because like, be creative. Like, how can I get better at photography? Well, you be more creative. Well, that's anything in art. But the problem is like, how do you become creative? That's kind of the biggest problem is like, if you're not creative, like you don't know how to become creative. And aside from like people telling you what to do, I think the best way to learn to be creative is to just literally get out there and just do as much as you can. And in this field, we're talking about photography, we're talking about landscape photography, we're going to do some astrophotography. And I figured I have some shots in mind, but in typical me fashion, I forgot a key piece of gear that I needed to get the shot. And so now I've got to be creative. Now I've got to come up with a plan B, basically. And I'm going to kind of walk you guys through the process of like how I'm going to use some stuff and set up these compositions and try to be creative and get some shots that I wasn't anticipating on. And to do that, I'm going to use my LumeCube lights. So this episode isn't sponsored at all, but LumeCube did send me some lights recently, and they didn't ask for anything specific. I wanted to come back out here and do some wildlife and some astro and stuff. So we're out here, we're going to mess with some lights. I'm going to show you guys real quick, before it gets dark and you can't see anything, I'm going to show you a couple of these that, and I've been using LumeCube for years and years, and I have so many of their stuff, and I love their lights. They're just so handy. But this is like my new favorite light right here. This is their new tube light mini, and I just keep this case in the car, and this case is awesome, and it comes with the little tripod and a little chargey thing. I love that they're all USB-C charged now, so that's just so great for having one thing. And then like this little guy is the mini, the panel mini. You hear that, Brittany?
Get eaten by coyotes.
Yeah, there is a ton of coyotes. Oh man, they're all right there. No, I just want to go chase them with this right now. They sound like they're kind of close, but let's get this stuff set up and stuff. So, anyways, lights are really great, and I use lights a lot. I've got the studio panels here too. I want to talk about those in a minute because I'm going to use those. They say they're studio, but the beauty of these is that they're battery powered and they're really light and portable, and I can set them up anywhere. So I can make a studio out of anywhere, or I can use them for beautiful rim lights, key lights, whatever. And then I can use this thing for accent, and changing colors and all of that is super powerful. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to mess around with some blue hour shots. I think the plan B, we were going to do Milky Way, which is coming up over there, but we've got the moon back there, which you probably can't see because it's probably like that big. But it's like 86% full. It's full in like 2 days. And I wanted to do some Milky Way, and to do Milky Way when it's moonlight out, you need a circular polarizer or a night sky filter, and I have both, and I've left them both at home. So that's why we're adapting, we're changing, we're going to be creative. I'm going to try a star trail shot, and I'm going to try it we're going to get the tent all set up, the rooftop tent. I'm going to take you guys through how I think we're going to set that up. But first, a couple of things about the lights. So this tube light is my new favorite, and it's magnetic, so it'll stick to whatever. So that's pretty cool. Only obviously if there's metallic things around, but It also has the flat base so that it's pretty easy to stand, and then it comes with the little tripod stand. So, and then you can attach it to these bigger stands too if you have any, it's got quarter 20s on both sides, which is just great. And then it's got a really great menu system, and it's got where you can adjust all of the hue, saturation, colors, and brightness and all of that stuff. And this thing has a heck of a battery life. So I'm at 25% right now, and it's saying I've got 4.6 hours, and I didn't charge it. Camera Lady and I have been using this like all week, and I haven't charged it. So like when it's on the RGB lights, it's really low. And I think when you put it on the normal lights, so now it's on the regular light, and if then we can change the color temperature so I can warm it up from 2700 all the way to 7500. So you got daylight in there at 5600 Kelvin. When you put it on this, I'm at 26%, and it's saying I've got 3.6 hours of battery life. And I'm not, when we do the Astro stuff, like I'm gonna be using probably like 1%. So if I back it down to 1%, it's got 14.1 hours. So that's nuts. And even, you know, when it gets dark, even like 1%, being able to do light painting, moving it around, stuff like that, this thing is going to be absolutely great.
Game changer.
Yeah, game changer. It's very versatile, and I'm just absolutely loving it. Okay, so let me show you these real quick. Because these are great for like camping and stuff too, because we do a lot of camping, and like if you just want to have lights like set up around camp or something, you can definitely use these guys. They've got fans and stuff too, and then they've got the nice panel, and you can control the temperatures, all of the good stuff. So the whole point of lights is like you can use whatever lights you want, right? Like I'm not sponsored by them, I'm not an ambassador. These are what I've used for years and years. And I used to use headlights a lot, you know, like for walking and stuff, and then paint in the cactus or the foreground element or whatever. But the headlights just have like really low quality of light, and they have flicker, and they're not properly color calibrated and all of it. And these lights are, because they're made by photographers for photographers. You know, so they're much higher quality and much more consistent light, which especially if you're doing a time lapse and you're having these sit out and it's going for hours or whatever, you don't want light flickering. You don't want anything changing at all. You want a solid, continuous, proper light. So that's what these are, and I love these. And then in the bag, they come with the stands, you know, so these are great. And then, like I said, you can put anything on here. You can put these lights on here, or the big studio lights, or even the little lights, whatever. Anything with a quarter 20, you can put these on. So let's take a break for a second, and maybe I'm gonna go chase a coyote, and then I will walk you guys through the shot that I'm looking for, and we'll get the car and the tent and everything set up and go through all this stuff. Of course, they're stopped now. Let's see if I can see them anywhere walking on that ridge. Okay, so we've got the tent set up. Now let's go check our composition. Okay, so tent's all set up. I threw one of the Lume Cube panels in there, and it's just very softly, very subtly lighting up the inside of the tent. So let me show you what I'm looking at. Okay, so here is my composition. This is a little wider than my composition actually because the way that I'm filming. And what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get the Tube Mini and I'm going to go and rim light a couple of different things. And what I might do is actually blend, and I might rim light in separate images, different areas, and then blend those together in one final shot. So I'm going to take a couple of test shots. And the beauty of doing star trails versus like Milky Way stuff is Milky Way stuff, you typically want a faster lens and you want a wider open aperture because you're trying to let in as much light as possible so you can keep your ISO down. But we've got two things going for us. One, we're doing a star trail, so we're going to blend a time lapse basically. And two, we have an 86% whatever filled moonlight. So we have a lot of moonlight. And those things combine. I don't want to shoot a shallow depth of field because I don't want to focus stack if I don't have to. So right now I'm actually at f8 and I'm focused on the tent, which is like midway through my shot. And I'm hoping that that will give me enough, but I'm going to double check it. And I might just go ahead and focus on infinity and shoot anywhere between f8 and f16. There is a mouse crawling up to me. Do you see this? There he goes. I don't know if you guys could see that. He crawled underneath my knee. Wow. I don't see any snakes out tonight. I'm surprised I haven't seen a rattler yet. Well, we'll listen for them because they'll be out here in a minute. Shit, that was a rattler. Did you hear that? Right as I said that. And he's in our walking path. This is another reason why rooftop tents are helpful because he is quite large. And the problem is I need to back up because he's heading towards the car and I don't want him to go to the car. Desert living. This is what I almost walked up on. Because my tent's right there. Car, tent, snake. As long as he doesn't get too close to me or go near my photography bag. Oh, he's big.
Oh shit, your bag is zipped, right?
Yeah, it is. There he's going. All right, so it's the next day. We made it back alive. I don't think I've ever seen Camera Lady climb that tent ladder so fast before. But needless to say, we got a little distracted by snake chasing, and what I ended up doing was I ended up using the tube light and putting it on a blue and then doing the rim lighting. And I didn't want to walk around anymore and disturb anything else. So we just left it like that. I got the time lapse set up, and the only thing I've done so far is render that time lapse, and it looks okay. So let's jump in the computer, and I just want to like walk you guys through a very quick, not like complete tutorial, but a very quick process of my editing and how I'm going to process the image. And let's just see, I guess, if we can end up making anything useful out of this or decent, really. All right, so the first thing I want to do, oh, there's a little white-crowned sparrow. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to take a look at, I took a couple of stills first. All right, so let's take a look at this image because I think I might use this as my base image. So first of all, you'll notice this big dark area in the middle here, and that's normal. That's not vignetting or anything. There wasn't any filters on. That's because this is the darkest part of the sky and this is moonlight surrounding that. So we might try to deal with that here in a minute. But first, take a look at everything. So the tint looks good. The background looks good. So everything looks in focus. I'm not gonna have to focus stack, which is good. So now I'm just gonna tweak the image a little bit. And mostly I'm tweaking just for the foreground because we're gonna put the star trails in. We're gonna blend those in a little bit. So I did all my global adjustments real quick because they're gonna push the image a little harder. It's already noisy, it's at 3200 ISO. So now I'm gonna come in here with the new AI denoise. This thing is absolutely amazing. So just look at the difference. This is without, this is how noisy it was. And then this is after the noise reduction. I have it set to 40 right now, which I'll probably leave it at that. All right, so the rest I'm gonna do in Photoshop. Okay, so I just brought in this layer. I had this shot right here, which I had just done as a brighten the foreground, but the foreground was too bright, but the tint wasn't. So I put that in here, and the composition was a little off, so I aligned it, and then just painted that back in. So now we have the tint is a little bit brighter and more prominent. All right, so next let's go blend the goods for the time lapse. I'm going to use star stacks. Okay, so here's the resulting file, and basically we're just going to take this and put it into just one. Okay, so now we're all aligned. Now we can crop in how I wanted to. All right, so now we got the ground selected. And there we are. Now let's fix the sky because we haven't messed with that at all and it's a little washed out. All right, so sky is fixed a little bit. Now we just gotta take out those satellites. All right, that's looking better. So I just took out some of those satellites and planes and stuff. But now I want to go back to this one, the foreground, and I want to brighten it up just a bit. That's better. Okay, so I think that's all that I want to do to this image, and it's still not where I want it, and I think that ties into the first part of the video about being creative and about trying. And I think like the best thing to do for me to go about this is like 1, experiment while you're out there, 2, don't get bit by rattlesnakes, and 3, try to go back and look at your images, either the ones that you've just created or, you know, previous images that you've done, especially ones that have taken effort, and just look at them and try to think like, do you still like them? Is there anything that you want to change, or is there anything that you want to add? And those, I think, are the generative types of thoughts that will bring out that creativity. And the more you kind of do that stuff, the more you analyze your own images, the more you take your time in a scene and walk around and just think, what would look cool here? What could I do? What do I have? And the more you practice that stuff and you go out and you shoot and you tweak and you try and you edit and analyze, then the more that creativity comes, and the easier it becomes after that to start generating ideas. And I think that's the huge thing. And then you'll start looking for tools to help you do that. In this case, it was the lights. And even though I didn't end up using as many lights as I wanted to in the way that I wanted to, they still were the driving factor of like me coming out here and trying this, and then, you know, adapting when I forgot my filters and switching gears completely. All of that goes to like helping my creativity. So I'm happy that I got the shot. I'm happy that at least the time lapse and the star trails worked out. I would have liked to have been able to tweak the lights a little bit more and maybe try lighting up the tent with some different colors and rim lighting and stuff like that. And maybe I'll go back out there again at some point and I'll try it again. And that's what this kind of stuff is for me. It's definitely, it's always a stepping stone. It's always giving me more ideas to try new things in the future and just constantly change and evolve my photography. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. If you have any questions about what I did or, you know, my creative process or anything like that, leave them down below in the comments. Or if you have any comments about, you know, what you do for your own creative process and what helps get the gears rolling and everything, put those down in the comments too and let everybody know. Huge thanks for sticking around this far. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button for me, subscribe if you haven't already. It makes a huge difference to the channel. It really helps out. Channel memberships down below if you want to check out additional content, support the channel. That's a huge help also, and it means a lot. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you out there in the next one.